Hello, welcome to the first edition of the Music Corner, part of the Jibber Jabber podcast umbrella. My name is Todd. You might have seen me in other Jibber Jabber podcast areas, such as the Wrestling Ramble. And here really is an area where we can just talk all about our love for music, specifically rock music, knowing what my tastes are like and what the guys' tastes are like. Here we're planning to do things like album rankings, album reviews, give our opinions on what's going on in the industry. We can even talk about concerts and our memories of music, and we're just here to talk about music in general. And hopefully you can have a good time as well. So welcome to the first episode. And on today's episode, I'm going to talk about where it all began for me. Everybody's got that first band or musical artist that they fall in love with that gets them into it. And for me, that band is McFly. Now, I took a lot of heat at school when I was younger because I liked McFly. McFly were like my band that I lived and died by. And when you are, let's say, 17, 18 in high school and you're known as a McFly guy, it's maybe not the best look, but, you know, I love this band. This band were the band that really got me into looking at music and, you know, understanding what a concept of an album was. People might be rolling their eyes at that thinking McFly albums, really, mate, but this band are the gateway to so many more of my other musical influences, such as Bruce Springsteen, you know, and Status Quo, things like that. And they really made me look at music differently. They were also my first concert, so I have a big love for McFly. So for today, I seen it as appropriate to rank their albums, and from worst to best. So here we go. The first one, and this might seem like a bit of a cheap cop-out, and I think it's their worst album to date, and it's pretty harsh, but it's this one. Yeah, it's Young Dumb Thrills, which is, the latest release from McFly. This album was released in November, I believe, or September of last year. I can't quite recall, but it was an album that was kind of released after the pandemic, and yeah, it was kind of, they released their first single from this in like March of last year, round about the time the pandemic was really kicking off. And yeah, Happiness was the first track off this album, and straight off the gate, I didn't dig it at all. I really didn't like the whole album sampling of this trumpet, this Brazilian band, or whoever it was. I seen it as lazy. I didn't get into it at all. But, you know, the song's not too bad, but it's, for me, I was expecting a lot more from McFly. The second single from this was Grown Up, which features Mark Hoppus from Blink-182. And this is a little bit better, but like some of the other albums I'm going to talk about, this album came out when I was 29 years old. And when you're 29, you kind of grow out of the whole Blink-182 Fall Out Boy phase. At least I did anyway. I can't speak for everybody, but for me, that early 2000s pop punk sound just doesn't quite hit home with me anymore as it used to. It's not bad. It's not bad. I can still listen to it, but it's not anything that's going to move me. However, the third single, I believe, is the best song in this album, which is Tonight Is the Night. I think that's a fantastic song. That is McFly for me. So that's a fantastic song. Other songs in here, another song about love. That is a McFly song. I'll give you that. That one's not too bad, but yeah, again, all the tracks in here are kind of like track 3. It's just You're Not Special. It's a really bad pun, but yeah, the tracks on here, there's just not a lot of memorable ones for me. You're Not Special. It's really not special. Young Dumb Thrills is okay, featuring Ratboy. I don't know who Ratboy is, but he's on here, and it's okay. Mad About You, Sink or Sing, Like I Can. These songs are completely and utterly forgettable for me. I might be saying sacrilege to a lot of McFly fans. I don't know if this was a really well received album, but for me, and I'm a McFly fan for many years, this just didn't do it. I think Wild and Young is a complete Killers ripoff as well. McFly have got a tendency of kind of ripping off other bands' music a little bit, especially nowadays, which is disappointing because they don't need to. They're talented in their own right. They don't need to sound like other bands, but they've got a bit of a track record of it. And I love you guys, but it's true. However, this album does end with a little bit of hope for me. Not the end. I think it's one of the better tracks. I think it's probably the second best track in the album for me after Tonight Is the Night. Because that for me is a McFly song. That one is what I looked for when this album came out. And it just leaves me with a little glimmer of hope that maybe their next album can be just a little bit more what I was looking for. So this album, it's not my favourite at all, but you know what? It's the only McFly album that comes on vinyl so far. Guys, if you're watching this video, please get you to release the rest of your albums on vinyl. I would love that. Thank you. At number 6, this isn't really an album, but I kind of see it as an album because it's the Lost Songs. Yeah. After Above the Noise in 2010, we didn't have any McFly album. We were constantly waiting for the fabled album number 6, and it always looked like it was going to come out, and it never did. And the songs that were going to be on that album but never quite make it are pretty much what's on here. It's the Lost Songs. And this was released it was kind of like a free release to the fans from the band. The year before last, it must have been about 2019. It's hard to remember now, but they released these like on a week by week basis alongside a YouTube video, kind of explaining, what the concept of it was. And yeah, it was really exciting at the time because it was like McFly are back. They're finally releasing these songs, and for me, it's a real mixed bag. I've got them in order here, of course, from which they released. I'll talk about them. The first ones they released was Red and Touch the Rain. Now, if you're a McFly fan, you knew these songs. They'd played these songs live, I believe, on, I don't know if it was a Memory Lane tour, or I don't know if they played one. I don't think they played it in the Anthology tours, but they played these songs live because these were going to be on album number 6, as far as I'm concerned, because these tracks were quite well known. So when these songs came out, I knew them, fans knew them. So it was nice to get that. Red's really good. Red's a really good upbeat song. Touch of Rain it's not really my thing. It's not bad. It's a bit more Above the Noise level territory, but it's okay. The third one to come out though was a song we'd never heard before, and that was We Were Only Kids, and I despise this song. A lot of McFly fans are going to go, "Why is that?" And I'll go, "Well, I'll tell you why. It is an absolute blatant rip-off of the Bruce Springsteen song We Take Care of Our Own. If you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to the beginning of We Were Only Kids, and then listen to We Take Care of Our Own right after. Now, I know Danny Jones is a massive Bruce Springsteen fan, so I've got no problem with trying to replicate Springsteen, but this is a complete rip-off, and this kind of alludes to what I was talking about earlier. I hate having a go at the guys from McFly because I absolutely adore them, but this, I just can't listen to it because it is so blatant. So We Were Only Kids, worst song on the album for me, just for that reason only. Hyperion, it's quite a long song from McFly. It's almost like 7 minutes, I believe. It might be even over 7 minutes from memory. But yeah, it's doesn't really do much for me. It doesn't really tend to go anywhere. It seems quite ambitious, I suppose, and a little bit different from what they'd done before, but it just didn't channel me at all. Dare You to Move, it's okay. It's a lot of these songs were really disappointing. If I'm honest with you, this whole album in general is disappointing, apart from a couple that I'll point out. I mean, Break Me was kind of a throwback to more old McFly, like Bubble Wrap, that type of shtick. But it just seems a bit, I don't know. It just doesn't seem to have much behind it for me. I don't know. I don't know how the guys feel about these songs, but Break Me, Corner of My Mind, it's all right, but it's nothing more. It's nothing groundbreaking. And all people are maybe going to cringe when I say this, but number 8, Something About You, is my favourite song on here because it's McFly. I know that in the Lost Songs videos, Dougie says it sounds a bit like an S Club 7 song. I don't completely agree with that. I agree that this is happy, this is upbeat, this is what I want from McFly. Something About You is awesome. Those Were the Days, it's okay. It's an acoustic Tom song, a nice little duet with somebody. I'm not even going to try and pronounce her name, but she's a very lovely singer. Josephine is that's another great track. That is one of the better ones on here. Man on Fire is a really good one as well. Lucky Ones and Pretty Girls, yet again, for me, they're a bit forgettable, if I'm honest. But yeah, the second half of this album, or this release, should I say, is a lot better. Certainly check out Something About You, Josephine, Man on Fire. Those for me are the standout tracks. But the Lost Songs, it'd been such a long time since we had new McFly material, so I was quite happy just to get it, to be honest with you. But of course, they followed it up with the last album, and it's still not doing quite much for me. So I'm in a funny point with McFly. I really want to support everything they do, and I will do that. I mean, I'll continue to support it whether it's my thing or not. I'll always believe in this band because the stuff they've done in the past has always, always been good for me. So that's number 7. Number 7, yes, 7. The Lost Songs. So number 6 is probably the one that people have a lot at the bottom of their lists, but for me, it comes in near enough the bottom, but it's number 6. It's Above the Noise. 2010, Above the Noise. This is album number 5, and this is kind of where we were left at with McFly for a long, long time. It's an album that is not terrible, but it really was like a crazy departure from what they'd done before. McFly were 3 years off Radioactive, which was a proper rock album, if you ask me. And we waited, anticipated their new single, and they released Party Girl, which was actually quite shocking for the time. And I absolutely despised Party Girl. I think the band do too. I think it's a huge... I think every band in their career has a misstep, and for McFly, they'll always see this as a misstep. However, despite that, I still rank this above the latter two that I've just mentioned, because there is still some good stuff in here. This was kind of released in tandem with the Super City stuff, which was really cool. I was a Super City pioneer. I've still got my certificate upstairs. Super City was like McFly ahead of the curve, with their own site, with the release their own footage. I suppose they have it now with the McFly Total Access. It's the same thing, really, but this was kind of ahead of its time. And this album was like sent to us. This wasn't sent to us free, but we got a free download as part of being a pioneer. We got to meet them, do things like that. But End of the World, it's got the nice little War of the Worlds guitar riff in there. As is all the tracks in here, they're all a bit overproduced. But there's some good songs in here. End of the World, I've already mentioned I Hate Party Girl, which, I still kind of do. If You See Kate, it's actually not a bad song. Shine a Light, McFly seemed to love this song, and so did the fans, but me in general, I can take it or leave it. It's not terrible, but, it's just, I don't think it's the be-all, end-all they seem to think it is. I'll Be Your Man, great song. Nowhere Left to Run, nah, for me that's a bit too nightclub aspect, but it is what it is. I Need a Woman, yeah, I Need a Woman's class. Just that little riff, the bum 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 bum. I don't know. That for me is my favourite track in here. I love I Need a Woman. They need to play that more often. That's the Truth. Take Me There. They're kind of, just very forgettable, overproduced schlock. This song might be the strangest little thing they've done ever. It's kind of the whole da 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 da. It sounds a bit like Blue Peter to me. I don't know. I've always found that song a bit cheesy. Foolish is actually not a bad song. When you're broken down, I say these aren't bad songs. This album actually has a lot of good songs in it, like I've mentioned. It's just overproduced nonsense. For me, the definitive version of this album is found on the McFly anthology set when they did the whole album live again. And these songs, even Party Girl, sound a whole lot better when they've got the guitars and they're playing live. I know the guys at McFly don't like this album. Tom even comments about how he's carrying a bloody cane in the front, and it's true. This album is what it is. It's number 6 in my list. If you want to call this the McFly classic era, this is certainly the worst of their classic era. So number 5, I'm going to count it. It's not technically a McFly album, but it's McBusted. All the members of McFly play in this album, so I see this as a McFly album with James Bourne and Matt Willis guesting for Busted. McBusted, I have a lot to say on McBusted, and I might talk about it in another video if this proves popular enough, but I've put it as my number 5 ranking. When this album came out in 2014 now, wow, I was a bit disappointed. I spoiler warning, I wasn't a big fan of the whole McBusted project. I thought it was cool for one tour, but I think it massively overstayed its welcome. After a while, I was like, right, McFly, come on, give us this album number 6. And I suppose this technically could have been looked at album number 6. There's probably some stuff on here that would have made it. But I was conflicted because I actually quite enjoyed this album. However, what I will say is I would have enjoyed it a hell of a lot more if it had been released a few years prior. It's very early 2000s rock. It's what you'd expect from a McBusted, I suppose. It's actually not bad. It's an album I can listen to. There's not really a bad track in it. I love I love air guitar. Hate Your Guts is cool. What Happened to Your Band? James Bourne obviously loves that because he's recorded that song with like 3 different bands now. Busted had that in one of their last albums. Get Over It's okay, I Can Take a Leave. Riding My Bike's class. I really love riding my bike. Gone. Gone's okay. Sensitive Guy's class. Beautiful Girl's the Loneliest. Good song. Before You Knew Me. My standout's Back in Time. I love Back in Time. I think that's bloody epic. How's My Hair? I forgot about that one. How's My Hair? Bit. I think it's a bit tongue in cheek. It's just really silly. Getting it out. I mean, this is what it is. This is a complete nostalgia fest. It's not anything to be taken too seriously. I would much prefer that they release stuff of this ilk rather than what they have done recently, which might make me a bit, a bit of a hypocrite, given that I said that 2000s rock I've kind of grown out of, and I have, but I'd rather listen to this and listen to what they've released with Young Dumb Frills. It's just me. So McBusted, I mean, look at the way that Tom was dressed during this period, man. Jeez Louise. Tells you everything, but it's still a good time. Their tour was very fun as well for what it was, but I hope you never go back to McBusted, guys. I hope this is just leave it in the past. Finally, we move on to the classic McFly era, and number 4 might seem like a bit of a sacrilege to some people, but for me it's number 4. It's Room on the Third Floor. Yes, the debut album, an album that changed so much for me. I loved this album, still do. Played the utter shit out of it back in the day. Where do I even begin? 5 Colours in Her Hair, obviously. Room on the Third Floor, That Girl. The first 4 tracks are like 4 greatest hits tracks. The rest of the tracks are awesome as well. Hypnotised, Saturday Night, Met This Girl. I can understand some complaints that this is a very samey album. A lot of it sounds exactly the same, but that's kind of the charm. It's all epic. It's just Beach Boys sounding surf pop. It's absolutely awesome. My one criticism is that the album is from 2004, which is absolutely bonkers. It's 17 years old now as I'm recording this video. I can't believe it's that old. It sounds a bit dated now. And I like Above the Noise. I think the best version of this album is found in the McFly Anthology set, where they played this album from head to toe, and it was a lot better, a lot more crunchy, a lot more raw. There was also a really good documentary that they did a few years ago where Tom and Danny went back to the hotel where they wrote most of the songs for this album, and they did a few acoustic versions of these songs in there, which are also a big step up, I feel, in this. I believe, I might be wrong on this, but in the book, I think they read that it was a lot of session musicians that played on this because the band were still in their infancy at the time, but they wanted to rush out an album. So I don't even think the guys at McFly would say that this is the quintessential McFly album, but it is certainly an album I have a lot of fondness for. I love this album. It's at number 4, but it's only at number 4 purely because the other 3 albums I just love a little bit more than this one. Room on the Third Floor, great album, love it. For number 3, I'm going to go with Motion in the Ocean. This is like the special tour edition thing I've got here, but yeah, Motion in the Ocean, the third McFly album. I remember going to see McFly on tour, and the first time I seen this album cover was in the back of their tour program. It was a day before you could see things readily on the internet. It was quite cool, and I have never been so hyped for an album in my life than I was for Motion in the Ocean. I looked for leaks. I tried to wrap every little bit of everything I could find about this album before it released. I wanted to know about. I was so buzzed for it. When it released, I can remember getting out of school the day it was released and telling my mum, we need to go to Tesco's right now because I need to go and buy this album. Came home, got the album, put it in, and then just listened to it over and over and over again. And yeah, it's an album that I still love. It's got a couple of tracks in it that don't do a lot for me. But let's go through them right now. We Are the Young. Awesome, great start. This is a very. They had a lot of Queen influences and Jellyfish influences on this time, and it's very telling. We Are the Young, awesome. Stargirl, it's a bit overplayed now, but still a great song, especially live. Please, Please. McFly don't seem to like this song, but I really have a lot of fond memories of it. It's stupid. It's really, really tongue in cheek, but I love Please, Please. Sorry's Not Good Enough. Excellent. Bubble Wrap, I've mentioned that previously. It's one of the best ballads that they've written. Transylvania, this one's a bit overplayed for me. I don't think it's as good as a lot of McFly fans probably would tell you it is. It's okay. Lonely is just obviously too. Don't Stop Me Now. This is in the track listing I've got here, of course, for the deluxe edition. Don't Stop Me Now. I know McFly fans love this. It's a great song by Queen, but when McFly did it, it just didn't really do much for me. Don't get me wrong, it's a good song to play at a concert, but yeah, I'd much rather hear other stuff like the next track, Little Joanna, man. I love Little Joanna. Little Joanna's my favourite track in this album. It's just absolutely crazy. It's the closest thing they've written, in my opinion, to a Queen song. It's awesome. Little Joanna, and I used to absolutely I actually met Tom a couple of occasions. I say, please play that song, and he said it was too hard, and eventually did play it at their 10th anniversary concert, and they've played it since the anthology tour. So there is live versions of it, which is awesome. Friday Night, that was a song for Night at the Museum 1, believe it or not. It's okay. Walk in the Sun, great Danny Jones number, one of the best ones he's written. Home is Where the Heart Is. I don't know why I get a Bon Jovi vibe in this every time I listen to it. But yeah, it's not one of the best tracks on here, but it's okay. And this version's got Baby's Coming Back as well, which was released. This Baby's Coming Back wasn't on the original album, but this was added for the deluxe one. That's a cover of a Jellyfish song. Yeah, so many good tracks in here. Yeah, this is a great album, fantastic, and maybe it just dies a little bit because I probably overhyped it too much. Because when this came out, I was like, "This is the best thing they've ever done," and it just wasn't. It's kind of over time I've kind of grown to say it's a good album. But yeah, number 3, stuff nothing to be sniffed at. It's not a bad album at all. Right, number 2. I don't actually have a physical copy of it. Number 2, I had a physical copy of it back in the day, but for whatever reason I don't have it anymore. But it's this one. Radioactive. Oh man, Radioactive's awesome. When I talk about Radioactive, I'm talking about the full Radioactive. The thing about this album was they released it in a very strange way. They took the Prince method of releasing it with the mail on Sundays. So this album was given away for free in the newspaper, and it looked like this. And it was only like a 10-track, I suppose, promo album, a tease for the main one. But I can remember running along to the post office, picking up a copy of the Mail on Sunday at like 8 a.m, like ridiculously early, coming back and just playing it. And McFly were playing T4 on the beach that day. It was just a great day. And I honestly at the time believed that this was the best McFly album I'd ever heard. I said the same about Motion in the Ocean when I played it as well. So maybe I was overhyping it. But this one, I don't think I was. Because this album for me still holds up. I don't have the track listing in front of me right now, but songs like Everybody Knows, man, that's just a downright down and dirty rock song. Do Ya, a little bit poppy, but I like it. Falling in Love is a Bruce Springsteen song done by McFly without plagiarism, and it's awesome. I'm trying to think of the rest of them. POV, another fantastic, great rock ballad. This album was just a rock album, man. And I think at the time they said it was the best album they'd ever made, and I could possibly agree with that to an extent, but for me it comes in at number 2. For definitive edition, this promo edition, it's cool to have, but you need to have the full edition. It's got Lies, Only the Strong Survive, The End. Man, this album is head to toe just brilliant. It ends with the last song, which is just absolutely epic. Absolutely love this album. I don't want to talk too much about this. This might be an album that I do a review on in the future. As for all of these, I'd like to talk about a little bit more in depth, maybe even an anthology tour set. I might do that one day. But for me, it's number 2. It's Radioactive. It's fucking awesome. So, for those of you keeping up, my number 1 album is It's Wonderland. There's absolutely no question in my mind what was going to be my number 1. This is one of my favourite albums of all time, and I really don't want to go too much into it because this is an album I would love to cover on this channel eventually in more depth. All I'll say is this album really took McFly up for me. It really showed that they weren't just this pop punk band. They weren't just going to be another Busted. They were a bunch of guys who could write, who could play, and they could produce an album of this maturity at such a young age and so early in their career. This album is 16 years old now, and for me, it still holds up. Unlike the album they did previously, Room on the Third Floor, for me, this one still holds up, even more so than Motion in the Ocean does. This and Radioactive, but this by far, are McFly's greatest works in my opinion. I would love for McFly to dig deep and just try and put their effort to make another release of this kind. I'd also love to see vinyl releases for all of the albums I've mentioned. But what I'll say is Wonderland, it's got all these mature tracks in it. It's All About You is the only one that really doesn't quite fit in line because that seems a bit light in comparison to the other ones in here that kind of rock. So yeah, that's my number one album by far. It's McFly Wonderland. Awesome. Check it out if you've not. If you've not heard any of these albums, check them out. So that's it. That's my ranking of the McFly albums from worst to best. Of course, please bear in mind that this is my opinion only. It's absolutely certain I'd imagine to differ from yourself. If you're a massive McFly fan, comment below. Let me know what your favourite order is. I've included the McBusted albums, Lost Songs. Include whatever you like. There's greatest hits albums, Just My Luck, things like that out there. But I've not included them today. I thought I'd just tick off the essential stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully looking to do more soon along this line. We'll do some album reviews, do some more rankings, hopefully a little bit more depth. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and check out the other stuff on the Jibber Jabber channel. Take care.